why it's so close. I can't scoot it back. I don't want to drop my phone or something. Okay, I guess I'm going to sit back here. I can't make it zoom out. I got new glasses. Okay. I always gotta clear my throat before I do this. You don't have to excuse me. Oh God, that's good. Okay. A couple more things I need to do. Okay. I keep taking sips and it just doesn't seem to be doing what I need to do. Alright, so. Alright. Okay, I'm ready. Coming to you live from Music City, USA, aka Nashville, Tennessee. This is the ALLAnal podcast with Sebastian Starr. I'm your host, Sebastian Starr. And today we are long overdue for yet another The Weeknd related episode. This time we will be discussing his limited series known as The Idol. Now, for a little bit of context, back in 2020, back in 2020, when After Hours was released, it was circulating throughout the interwebs and on his Instagram and Twitter and whatever accounts that he was coming out with a TV show. It was going to be created by the same guy who made Euphoria, and it was kind of going to be like a more sadistic version of that called The Idol. And that was all that we knew about it for a couple of years. And then mid 2022, going into 2023, they started to push out the promos for it very, very heavily. We got the first exclusive trailer. It was starring Lily Rose Depp, The Weeknd, Jenny Kim, Troye Sivan, and a couple of other people. And it had all these big time, sponsors and names all attached to it. And we didn't really get an idea or a plot or a premise. We just knew that it was going to be circling around a main character named Jocelyn, who is a pop star who's kind of on a up-and-coming comeback tour type of situation. So when the series finally dropped, obviously I was one of the few people, I want to say few people very lightly because the show didn't do too good. I was one of the people who's very, very, very excited. It's going to be a very different change of pace as far as what we saw coming from The Weeknd. He only ever really dabbled in acting with like Uncut Gems and stuff like that. And then a little bit of voice acting here and there on like The Simpsons, American Dad, Robot Chicken, etc. So seeing him kind of as a co-pilot, not in just creating this show, but being in the show as one of the main characters was a very big deal to his fan base specifically. So when the show came out, obviously I'm watching it, right? Like I'm tuned in. I'm catching up every single week, making sure that I know what's going on, and I'm really starting to get into it. And this is probably more leaning towards my personal bias in regards to The Weeknd and understanding his artistic genius and how he creates art and how he moves through life as an artist. But I understand completely why people were turned off by the show itself. So again, the pilot, which we later learned, after the first couple of episodes, this infamous pop star named Jocelyn, who is played by Lily Rose Depp. is kind of on a comeback tour type of situation after having a mental breakdown after the death of her mother, who was also one of her co-managers and one of the highly respected members of her primary team. You know, and for anyone who may or may not know, a team is referred to the group of people who pretty much manage and control your entire career as an artist. So you have your creative director, your co-manager, your main manager, your tour manager, your designer, your assistant. All of these people work together collectively to make sure that you as an artist are not only successful, but are making money. Because if you don't make money, then they can't make money. So they're investing in you as if you're, you know, an object in hopes that you will be a big cash out by the end of the day, which is a little messed up, but that's just how the industry works. So we see her kind of go on this spiral throughout life. You know, her mom was a very significant part of her come up rather. And after she passed away, she kind of lost it a little bit. You know, she spiraled down, went into drugs, alcohol, wild lifestyles, you know, sex and partying and all that crazy pop girl stuff that really kind of died out in the 2000s. Because you kind of see stories about, like, say, Britney Spears, for example, which was another heavy influence in regards to how the character Jocelyn was written. You have people who are on her team who are doubting her success, who don't really believe that she can do it. But again, they see you as an investment. So they've already started pouring money into you. They're not going to let you die out, because if you die out, then they don't make their money. They don't get paid. So it's important to them that you can still perform your job to their standards, because you're their cash cow. And again, that's fucked up, but that's how these teams work. Most of them anyway. And some of the members of the team really do care about the individual. Like her assistant, bless her heart, is one of the main, like, ass kissers on her team. Everything she does, she's like, oh my God, Joss, that was so good. You did such a good job. She's there to basically stroke her ego and make her feel like she's still relevant and important, even if she doesn't believe in herself. So she kind of just rides the wave. She goes along with everything that Jocelyn does, even if it makes her uncomfortable, even if she doesn't like it. So we see that as the developmental character of Jocelyn. As a matter of fact, the first scene of the first episode of the show is a photo shoot. And Jocelyn's sitting on, like, a bed with a satin robe, and it's very erotic and exotic and all those good things, right? And she's taking pictures. And the photographer's like, okay, give me sexy, give me innocent, give me sweet, give me this, give me that. And then he starts to get a little dark. Like, okay, give me sadness, give me fear, give me nervous, give me anxious. And then she immediately, like a switch, can turn on and off these masks of emotions, which should have been the first red flag. Now that I'm thinking about it, should have been the first red flag. She's able to instantaneously, and shout out to Lily Rose Depp for being that versatile. She's able to instantaneously go from giggly and flirty to seductive and mysterious to anxious and nervous to sad and literally crying. Like, her eyes get watery, her nose gets red, and her cheeks get puffy, her face gets flushed. And she was just like instantly, without hesitation, without a second thought. And that is terrifying in retrospect when things start to hit the fan and shit starts to go sideways, which I'm getting to it. I gotta break it down bit by bit. So this is who our main character is. This easy to manipulate and transform at the snap of a finger ass person is who we are dealing with in the show. That is our main character. Okay. In walks the Weeknd's character. In walks the Weeknd's character, who goes by Tedros, which I'm told is the name of an Ethiopian king from, like, the 17th century, which, if you don't know, the Weeknd is Ethiopian. He takes a lot of that culture into what he does, and it very much inspires and influences a lot of the things in his life. So that makes sense. He meets Jocelyn at a nightclub that one of her dancers, Diane, who's played by Jenny Kim, takes her to. And remember that name because it's important. So Diane takes Jocelyn to this nightclub where they meet Tedros. He's like the hype man. He's getting everybody up and dancing and moving around, and everybody's having a good time. And he kind of steals Jocelyn away to go into the back. They do a little bit of drugs. They hook up a little bit. And then they almost get caught So they stop hooking up and then they just start talking. And he kind of breaks through the barrier of her emotional vulnerability wall and kind of cracks the code on the type of person that he thinks she is. And then she's like, hey, you want to like come up to my house and like have a party or something? And he's like, yeah. So she invites him and apparently all of his weirdo schmeardo friends back to her house. And he has a lot of weirdo schmeardo fans, like 5 people who just cling to him at all times. They're all alternative artists. They all sing, they all perform, they all make music in some form or fashion. And they're all just hanging out at Jocelyn's house. And she's taking him around, showing her, you know, all of the stuff, like, ooh, this Prince poster and my hot tub and this private room and my sauna and all that other shit. So they proceed to just start hanging out. And he kind of awakens this sexual demon that is buried in the bowels of Jocelyn's soul and spirit. And now she's inspired to make this very, very, very sexy music. Because that's the type of artist she wants to be. She wants to be... And here's the thing. It makes sense when you think about the fact that she's been objectified, used, and emotionally abused by not only her team, but her record label. That's the only way that she knows how to process her feelings and emotions. Not in a healthy way, but just in a basic way. So when she goes to her team with a revised version of a song that she just put out, and they're like, what the fuck is this? She's looking like, you guys don't understand my vision the way that Tedros does, and she runs off. So they're like, who the hell is this guy? They send one of the members of her team. Her name is Destiny, and she is played by Divine Joy Randolph. Big, beautiful lady. They send her in as like an infiltration agent. Like, just stick around for a couple of days. Watch him, watch her. See how they interact with each other. Who is this guy and what is his deal? Why is she all of a sudden acting like this just because he pops up, right? So that's what she does. And the entire time he's there, he is just influencing her music in the most sexual tension way possible. It is overwhelming how much sexual tension has built up between the two of them. And they're getting it in, by the way. It's not that they're holding back for some whatever fucking reason. They're getting it in. And he's bringing out something in her that is possessing her almost to be a very different version of herself than she was when she first started in her career. And it's not all bad. He somehow manages to get Mike Dean, the real Mike Dean, the producer Mike Dean, that the actual person The Weeknd has worked with on several different songs and albums and projects and etc. They get him in there. And then Destiny, the manager who's infiltrating the whatever the fuck this is like, oh shit, he got Mike Dean coming here to make a rip. And now everybody on the management team is cool because they know how big of a deal Mike Dean is. So they was like, oh shit, well Mike Dean, I mean that changes everything, you know. Let's get them into the booth. Let's see what we can do. And it's okay. Steady chicken. So they get him in there, they start recording more music, and as you can see, you know, Jocelyn is starting to be like, okay, that confidence that she may have been lacking in regards to the type of artist that she wants to be, she's finding it now. So now she's like, man, you're getting on my fucking nerves, so get the hell out of here. Like, what are you doing? Like, blah, blah, blah. He's starting to become a distant, fading memory because now, and she's also at the same time bonding with the people from his team. So we got, like I said, it's about 5 people that he's just have attached to him. One of them is this very young and naive type of girl who obviously was plucked from the foster care system at like 14, 15 years old and has been used and abused throughout this whatever the fuck they got going on type of situation to make music. And she's a phenomenal singer. She makes great music. All of her music is very emotional and powerful and strong and overwhelming and exciting. And then you got this one smooth, dark chocolate ass nigga named Isaac who makes like modern day Prince music. It's very, very sensual. It's very, very sexual. It's very, very explicit. And it's kind of like that androgynous feeling to it where men and women can kind of like get off at the same time, you know? And it just keeps getting worse and worse. So she's spending a lot of time with these people as well, getting to know them on a personal level, understanding the type of music that they make, and she feels comfortable enough to invite them into her world officially and completely. So fast forward a little bit toward the end of this first season. we get to a point where her management team is like, okay, look, you're supposed to have an album and a tour coming out. We need to hear the songs that you plan on putting on this album, and we need to green light it for the tour, and it needs to happen like ASAP. So whatever you're about to do it quickly, or the tour is canceled, your album is canceled, and we're gonna have to drop you from the label. Like, she's on the verge of losing her job at this point, so she's terrified. So she's like, look, it's game time. We got to get this shit together. We got to get it going now. So the management team comes by with all of the other agents who are going to push her tour forward. And while she's getting ready, they were like, Destiny, the infiltrator, was like, hey, how about you guys play some of your music for the team here while we're waiting for Jocelyn to get ready. So they play a couple of their songs. Wows this management, because they've been working for like a month. They've been there for like a month and a half maybe, and just putting in work. Every single day they wake up, they record, or they're writing, or they're doing something creative every single day. So they get up and they start performing their songs, and they're just blowing their minds. And then Jocelyn comes into the room and she performs a song and is just like, yes, this album is happening, this tour is happening, let's get it going, let's push it through. We got the green light, we're good to go. So there's a couple of things that I'm leaving out, so I'm going to backtrack just a tiny bit. There's one point where Jocelyn is sitting down having dinner with everybody, her management team, Tedros and his team, and they're kind of just sitting around talking. One of the members of Jocelyn's team, played by Troye Sivan, his name is Xander, and he's like her creative director. He's kind of, helps with her social media platforms and, campaigns for her, puts out her promos, things like that. He was saying to her, or he was saying to the table, to the group, that Jocelyn's mom is the real reason why she's here and is able to do what she does. And you learn from this conversation that Jocelyn's mom was also very physically abusive towards Jocelyn, kind of whipped her into shape, into being the pop star that she is now, right? And Tedros, being the dominant, controlling sociopath that he is, makes Jocelyn confess to the abusive acts that her mother would inflict on her. And she mentions how she would take a hairbrush, like a white girl hairbrush, not a black girl hairbrush, and she'll beat her with it until she gets whatever she needs to get got done. And it was traumatizing, and she still keeps the hairbrush. So at this point, Tedros takes Jocelyn back into her bedroom. He finds the hairbrush. It's all worn up, torn down, raggedy. You can tell it's been used for years. And, he's like, is this the hairbrush that you were talking about? And she was like, yeah, that's the hairbrush. So that's significant because it shows that Jocelyn is allowing herself to be vulnerable towards Tedros, but also in that moment, Tedros flips the script and is abusive towards Jocelyn because he uses the hairbrush to beat her into submission, into doing whatever he wants. And then at that point, everything that Jocelyn does, she doesn't do unless Tedros gives her the A-OK to do it. So this is like smack dab in the middle of their whole little fuckery thing. And at this point, she moves him and his entire party in, and they all just kind of stay there for, like I said, about a month and a half, just making music and being creative. So that's significant because the day that her team comes by and says, we need to greenlight your album and your tour, and we need to do it today. If not, everything is getting canceled and you're getting dropped. She cusses Tedros out. Like, what the fuck are you still doing here? Why the fuck are you still talking? This has nothing to do with you. Get out. Completely Uno reverse, right? And right before she's set to perform for her team, she pulls one of her managers, like her head honcho manager, who's played by Hank Azaria. And she's like, look, you need to get rid of him. He needs to go. I don't care how you do it. I don't care what you need to do. He needs to go. Everybody else can stay, but he got to get the hell up out of here. He's like, consider it done. And he pulls Tedros to the side. And this was a beautiful scene. And I hate that this show did not get a second season because this part right here was impactful. So Hank Azaria pulls Tedros to the side and is like, I've been working with Jocelyn for a couple of years. She's like a daughter to me. It's a man. And speaking of daughters, I actually have one. I have a little girl. She's about 6 or 7 years old. And a couple of nights ago, I was in her bedroom with her and I was reading her a story, Little Red Riding Hood. And I was reading her the story. Are you familiar with the story? And Tedros was like, nah. He's a little strung out. So he's like, nah, I don't know. He's like, yeah, well, Little Red Riding Hood goes to her grandmother's house to check on her. And the big bad wolf is in disguise as the grandmother. Tricks the little girl into getting closer to him so that he can eat her. And for most people, that's where the story ends. But what I didn't know until I reread it for my daughter was that moments after the wolf eats the little girl, he falls asleep. And there's a lumberjack walking around who comes by and checks on the grandmother. And he sees the big bad wolf in the bed, asleep, his belly full, and he kills the wolf, cuts open his belly, takes Little Red Riding Hood and her grandmother out, and everybody lives happily ever after. And my daughter asked me, she says, Daddy, that's a really scary story. Aren't you scared of the big bad wolf? I'm scared of the big bad wolf. And he says, no, I'm not scared of the big bad wolf because I'm the lumberjack. And I said, God damn. That was the most beautiful. And then while that's happening, Jocelyn's in the other room performing for her life in front of her other members of her management team. So he's telling you, look, dude, you may be the big bad wolf, but I'm the lumberjack. I'm going to cut you, gut you, and get you out of here if that means I get to save this girl's life. Like, you don't understand the lengths that I'm willing to go. And this is more than just money for me. This is more than just her being my cash cow. I protect her with my life. I would do whatever I can to make sure that she's okay. You don't know what you're dealing with. So instead of killing him, which I really do think they should have killed him, but I understand why they didn't. Instead of killing him, they pay him off. They give him like $500,000, put him in the car and say, drive far away from here, go back to Florida or wherever you came from and just never come back. And he takes the money and he leaves. A couple of months later, about 3 months later, is the opening night of her tour. The album is a success. The tour is great. She even has a couple of his people that Tedros had in his team opening for her. So everything is going good. Everything is going great. Now, it's opening night. We're in LA, I believe, at the SoFi, if I'm not mistaken. Tedros walks up to the venue and says, I have some tickets here waiting for me. And the lady behind the thing is like, oh, here you go. Gives him a VIP pass and tells him where to go. He gets into the back, and Destiny, Devon Randolph, she's back there. She's like, you fuck my girl, I'm going to fuck you up. And then she walks out of the dressing room. Jocelyn's back there, and she's like, oh my God, Tedros, I can't believe it's you. I'm so happy to see you. Real two-faced shit, but remember that first scene, she can turn it off and turn it on at the snap of a finger. She can do that very, very well. And she's still getting ready. She's putting her makeup on. She's half dressed. She's like, okay, I'm almost ready. We're about to get the show started here in a couple of minutes. And he looks down and he sees the hairbrush that Jocelyn's mom used to physically abuse her during the stretch of her career in the beginning. But it's brand new. It's a brand new hairbrush. And he looks at her, he picks it up, and he says, isn't this your mom's hairbrush? And she looked at him and was like, yeah, that's my mom's hairbrush. And he looks at her, and he looks at the brush, and he looks at her. She's still getting ready like ain't shit. So this is when it dawned on me that, like, oh my fucking God, she's crazy. She's batshit crazy. And there's another scene that I'm forgetting that I'm going to really quickly readdress. So there's one point throughout the show where we, as the audience, realize that the members of Tedros' team are members of like a musical cult, and he's the cult leader. He is in control of any and everything that they do. There was a conversation that they had where it's like, oh yeah, man, we could just do whatever we want. You know, I sleep with whoever I want. I make love to whoever I want. I fuck whoever I want. I can do all the drugs. I go out and party. I drink. I do this. I do that. I do whatever I want. And Jocelyn, and this is Isaac, if I'm not mistaken, the dark-skinned dude. She was like, so you would fuck me then? He was like, nah, I can't do that. And she was like, why not? You just said you can do whatever you want. And he was like, yeah, but you belong to Tedros. And she's like, what does that mean? And he was like, if you belong to Tedros, then nobody gets to mess with you. There's another thing that I'm forgetting, but I'm about to bring it up here in a second. Obviously, I'm bringing it up right now. So, I'm all over the place. Y'all have to excuse me. So, that happens. Well, actually, no, I'm going to come back to that in a second. So, we get to the end of the episode, last episode. He finds the hairbrush. He looks at her. He just looks like baffled and confused. And, you know, a couple of hours later, the stadium's packed. Everybody's ready for the show to begin. She walks out on stage and says, I want to dedicate this show to the love of my life, Tedros. And she brings him out on stage and kisses him in front of a stadium full of people. Meanwhile, her management team, who just spent about $500,000 getting rid of this guy, is like, what the fuck is he doing here? And they're all baffled and confused, and they don't really know what's going on. And then the show just goes on, and he's standing off stage looking at her, and the look of defeat and devastation on his face is astronomical. Because he just got the okie doke. He just got juked for show. Now, that's plot twist number one, is that he's a cult leader, but she just flipped the script, and now she's the new cult leader. So all of the members in his team, in his cult, they now answer to her. She holds all of the cards. She's the one in control, and she's been in control from the beginning. There's a scene in the show that involves Troye Sivan. His character, Xander, again, he's the creative director for Jocelyn. So anything that she does goes through him first, and he kind of pushes and promotes that out for her. He's getting out of the shower, he's singing. Tedros walks in on him and is like, whoa, I didn't know you could sing. He was like, yeah, you know, I used to do it, but now Jocelyn does it, so I just kind of help her do it. He's like, well, why did you stop? And he was like, well, her and her mom, they just wanted the focus to be on her, so I kind of just stopped doing it. They get, oh my God. So they get him into like the basement part of her house, and they put an electric dog collar around his neck, and they got a little remote, and they'll shock him every time he tells a lie about something. So they got him on the floor, and they're shocking him. And Jocelyn's like, shock him again, shock him again. She's telling Tedros to shock Xander. And Xander's like, tell them the truth. You're the reason why I stopped singing. You and your mom, you didn't want me to be a singer because you thought that I was better than you, and blah, 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 blah. And she's just like, shock. She's just shocking the shit out of him. And this happens so much, and it gets so bad that Xander kind of becomes brainwashed by them and is now in complete and total submission. And you gotta ask yourself, this was your friend at one point, right? But now he's like a zombie. Now he's like a mummified thing that just does whatever he's told. And it is the scariest thing to come to the realization to, that they have that much power and control over all of these people. So that happens. And then the second plot twist, which I didn't see this coming, but when it happened, I was like, oh my God, shit's about to hit the fan. So you remember Jenny Kim's character, Diane. She's one of the backup dancers for Jocelyn. In the beginning of the season, Jocelyn is working on the song called World Class Center, which I'm about to get into the track list here in a second, because that's really where this show shines, is with the music. So in the beginning of the season, they're working on this song called World Class Center, or I'm a Freak is the second name for it. The rehearsal goes well. Everyone is at Jocelyn's house and she's dancing. She's a little worn out, a little exhausted, a little fatigued. So the first time she does it, she doesn't really do a good job. The second time the dance routine happens, Diane, Jenny Kim's character, steps in and like, here, let me show you how to do it. And she knocks it out the park. She does a fantastic job. Second time Jocelyn does it, she does an even better job. So the next day is their music video shoot, and they're running it like 20 times back to back to back. The dancers are exhausted. Jocelyn is exhausted. Her team is getting frustrated because like, why does she keep messing up? What's the problem? What's going on? So they got to give her pep talks like, man, you are that bitch. You know, you can do this. It's not nothing that you can't do. You've done better. You've done this, whatever. Okay. Last time. It's perfect. She knocks it out of the park. Everybody's like, yes, Jocelyn, I knew that you can do it. The fucking camera was out of focus. The entire time they were performing, the camera was out of focus. So they didn't get any of the good shots. They didn't get the perfect performance. They just got the half-ass performances from earlier. So they were like, look, the camera was out of focus. We need to do it one more time. Just one more time. You did it. Just do it again. And at this point, everybody is exhausted. And this part really broke my heart, actually. She starts calling out for her mother. So she's on the stage. Her feet are bleeding because of her shoes. Her hair is a mess. Her makeup is a mess. She's covered in sweat. She's physically exhausted. And she just starts calling out for her mom. And everyone is looking around. And she's saying it loud, too. Like, it's projecting across where they're recording. And her manager, she walked up to her and was like, Jocelyn, are you okay? And she was like, yeah, I'm fine. What are you talking about? And they was like, you were just calling for your mama. And she was like, what? No, my mama's dead. What do you mean? And they were like, dude, you were just calling for your mom. You called her name like 3 times. Like, what are you talking about? And they was like, look, we got to call her today. We can't keep doing this. She's overwhelmed. She's overworked. She's exhausted. We got to go. So they just shut down the performance, or they shut down the recording, and they send everybody home. While this was going on, another one of her managers, her name is Nikki, and she's played by a lady named Jane Adams, pulls Diane to the side and says, hey, you know the lyrics to the song, right? You know the words. You can sing it, right? She pulls her to the side. She asks her if she can sing the song, and she's like, yeah, okay. All right, well, let me get your information written down, and we're going to be in touch. Just be on standby. Dirty shit, right? And Nikki, out of all of the managers on her management team, Nikki is probably the worst. She's directly from the label that Jocelyn is signed to, and she does not give a fuck about Jocelyn as a person. She only cares about Jocelyn in the sense that she is a cash cow and she can make a whole lot of money off of her. So the second she sees that Jocelyn is no longer a valuable source of income, she is ready to drop her immediately. So Nikki calls Diane and says, hey, we want to sign you to our record label. We'll give you 5 years, 3 albums, 2 tours, and $1 million sign-in bonus. And she's like, all right, let's do it. Plot twist. Diane and Tedros are on the same team. So those 5 people that were always around Tedros in the beginning, Diane was one of those people. But she stayed incognito because the ploy was, if Diane can get close enough to Jocelyn, which Diane took Jocelyn to the club where they met Tedros. So if Diane can get close enough to Jocelyn to bring Jocelyn into Tedros' world and then allow him to manipulate her in the way that he did, then they could all come up together and benefit off of that. She would be the new member of the cult. What they didn't expect was for Jocelyn to hit them with the Uno reverse card and become the new cult leader. So now that Jocelyn has her tour greenlit, her album greenlit, and everything is going in the way that it's supposed to, guess what the fuck Nikki does? They drop Diane before she can even get signed to the label. They tell her they have to put the business deal on hold and that they'll get back to her as soon as they can. And as she's walking out of the corporate office building, she looks back at Nikki and says, this is because of Jocelyn, isn't it? And Nikki don't even say nothing. She just lets the elevator door close, Christian Grey style, and sends this woman off into the fucking abyss. And that fucked me up because it just shows that level of deviancy that these labels and corporations have for these artists, because Nikki does not care. She does not care about anyone on an individual spectrum or level. She only cares about making money. And damn, oh damn, did that shit fuck me up when I realized that. Because they were together. Tedros and Diane were together. He's on the phone with Jocelyn, and Jocelyn's like, come over in a couple of hours. It's 3 a.m. Okay. And he hangs the phone. He's looking Diane square in her face. And Diane is like, you think she can fuck you better than me? And he's like, baby, nobody fucks me better than you. And one of the girls in the car is sitting in the back with the headphones on, thinking she can't hear what they're saying. And then she went back and told Destiny, and Destiny told Jocelyn, and Jocelyn was like, okay, I got something for that ass. And then they went on tour. And they left Diane out of the tour. She wasn't even invited to the opening night. Do you understand how fucked up that is? And then when Tedros went, I was so upset that the show got canceled. And then when Tedros went, they was looking like, what the fuck is he doing here? And the only person who knew that Tedros was coming was Destiny, because when she saw him, she wasn't surprised. She just gave him a warning. If you fuck with her, I'm gonna fuck with you. Don't do that. And she let him walk in and she left him alone. It's just so much going on. It's so much happening. And I hate that people didn't give it a chance. And the reason why people didn't really like it was because of how cringy Tedros was, because he's a very uncomfortable guy. There's a point where Jocelyn's with her personal trainer, and she's showing off her stomach, and like, look, I've lost, my waist is getting smaller. And he's like, because he's a personal fucking trainer. That's his job. He makes all of her food. He gives her workout regimen, and he, prescribes whatever, subscribes whatever he has to do. That's his job. He sees the personal trainer touching on Jocelyn, and is like, what the fuck do you think you're doing? Get your hands off her. That's mine. And it's just like, bro, chill the fuck out. And then he tells him that he's fired, and he makes him leave out of the kitchen. And there's another scene. This is the most infamous one, probably. They're on Rodeo. They're going on a shopping spree. And one of the guys in one of the boutiques looks at Jocelyn. He looks at Jocelyn very, not even on no freaky deaky shit. And Tedros goes up to him, and it's like, I'll fucking curb stomp her. I can't even say it. He said, I'll fucking curb stomp you if you look at her again. And the guy, and the Weeknd's not that tall. He's like 5'7", 5'8". The guy is a strong 6'1". So he's looking up at this guy talking about I'm a curb stomp you if you look at her like that again. And it's just so hard to take him seriously because it's just like, bro, what the hell? But you also have to keep in mind the character of Tedros is a coked out, strung out, over, egotistical, narcissistic, audacious catastrophe of fuckery. You know what I mean? Like, he's not supposed to be someone that you immediately want to impress or attract. He's just some guy, you know what I mean, who's in way too deep on drugs and alcohol. So it makes sense that he's cringy, that he makes you uncomfortable, and that you don't really want to be around him. But the problem with that was The Weeknd as an individual is such a likable character, a likable guy, and you want to impress somebody like The Weeknd. So when he's playing somebody that you don't really want to be around, it kind of makes it hard to put those two things together. So I get it. And that's honestly the real reason why a lot of people didn't like the show, was because the character of Tedros was so insufferably unrelatable. And it just made people uncomfortable. And it is. And there was a lot of stuff I had to skip. Like, I skipped past all the sex scenes. I couldn't watch it. It was weird. It made me uncomfortable. And I just didn't. And I told myself, how can I listen to this nigga sing about fuck you and fuck me and fuck this and fuck that? But when it comes to seeing him actually do it or say it, it just made me so... It made me so uncomfortable. Like, I couldn't even... I had to skip every... And it's a lot of sex in this show, too, which is the other thing. I skipped past every single one. The only one that I didn't really skip past, and it wasn't even like a sex scene, but it was like the two of them taking a bath together. And they were both like ass naked, which is... Oh my God, they were both ass naked. And it was just weird. It was just fucking weird. I didn't like it. So I get it. But at the same time, it just made me laugh. So that's the entirety of the show in a nutshell. Now, I would love to talk about the music from the show, because I feel like, personally, the music is one of the reasons why... Hold on. The music is one of the reasons why the show was... It's one of the reasons why the show still has some kind of longevity to it still. It's one of the reasons why the show is able to still be talked about. And honestly, the music circulates more than any of the cringy clips or anything that you can think to associate negatively with the show. The music brings the positivity back into it. So I only have a handful of songs written, which is a lot. I'm not going to go through every single one of them, but I am going to talk about the number ones and my personal favorites, and then a quick this v that at the very, very end here. So, top songs from The Idol Season 1. Popular, which is Madonna, Playboy Cardi, and The Weeknd. I wasn't crazy about this song when I first heard it. I'm not, nothing against Madonna, nothing against Playboy Cardi, and I just wasn't crazy about it. It was like erotic alternative pop music, which obviously is the entire premise of the show, right? It's alternative erotic pop music, but it was too much going on. And then Playboi Carti, I don't know what the hell I don't know what his shtick is no more. I was never really a Playboi Carti fan, so I have no idea. And I'm sorry to say that, but I don't. And then I was listening to a playlist on my Apple Music, and it was like an a cappella version. So it was no music, it was just the vocals. So I could really kind of isolate what was being said and how it was being said. And it's literally just a song about the show. Honestly, the entire song describes the show, not from start to finish, but from perspective, you know? So the Weeknd's verse is like describing the girl who he's idolizing, right? Madonna is the idol in question. And again, I don't know what the hell Playboi Carti is doing, but he's just there. Song number 2 from the highlights, my personal favorite is Dollhouse. And I'm about to get to that in a second on why it's a personal favorite, but I'm just running down the list. The next one is One of the Girls. This one actually has Jenny Kim and Lily Rose Depp singing with The Weeknd, and it's probably my number 1 favorite, just because in the show it's just Lily Rose Depp singing. They don't really use that version in the final soundtrack. The version they use in the final soundtrack, like I said, has all 3 of them in it. And man, oh man, is that's now that. And here's the crazy part. That song is sexy as hell, right? She says, hold on, I gotta pull the lyrics up. That song is really sexy. And it's like, you can listen to that, but you can't watch the nigga do the shit that he's, you know what I mean? Like, it's so, you're contradicting yourself. So the intro, and I'm just do the quick little lyrical dialysis. Why do I keep saying dialysis? A quick lyrical analysis of this song. The intro, which is just repeated later by Jenny Kim, is Jenny Kim saying, excuse me. She said, lock me up and throw away the key. He knows how to get the best out of me. I'm not forced for a world to see. Trade my whole life just to be. So that's very much like giving into the submission, right? It's giving into the temptation, the idea of being a part of this world. Oh God. And then The Weeknd comes in with his verse. He says, tell nobody I control you. I broke you just to own you. They can't tell, but I love you because you're loyal. I love when you're submissive. You love it when I break skin. You feel plain. You feel pain without flinching, so say it. And then the pre-chorus, which is Lily Rose Depp. Oh my God. She says, give me tough love. Leave me with nothing when I come down. My kind of love. Force me and choke me till I pass out. So I can listen to that being sung in the most angelic and beautiful, fluorescent type of voices. But when I see the nigga start to do it, I get freaked out. And it's just like, whoa, slow the fuck down. So I'm backwards, and nothing about me makes sense. But that's a beautiful love song, and I absolutely love it. The next hit on the hit list is Double Fantasy. And I wasn't crazy about this song either. This one had to grow on me. This one got Future in it. And that doesn't have anything to do with why I didn't like it. It didn't hit at first. Because it was, again, the music was just doing too much. And maybe I'm just not the biggest fan of pop music that I think I am. Because at one point I was like, oh yeah, I love pop music. But now I'm just like, it's all right. You know, I gotta really be, and maybe it's more of the alternative sense of pop music that I'm more attracted to than just like bubblegum pop. Like, I don't like bubblegum pop. With that being said, I do fuck with Sabrina Carpenter, but I don't like bubblegum pop. It doesn't make any sense, I know. And then the last song on the highlights list is World Class Sinner. Now, I'm going to go back to World Class Sinner and Dollhouse here in a second, but there are 3 songs in particular that I wanted to talk about. One of those songs being Like a God, and man, oh man, is this song crazy. So, this is a song that was just for the soundtrack. It's not in the show at all. Oh my God, my iPad fell. Okay. So this is a song that was just for the soundtrack. It's not in the show at all. And it's just The Weeknd singing. And this is like, I feel like this is more, it has more to do with him personally. Like his personal journey in the industry, right? So the first verse, and oh my God, it's so poetic. The first verse, Mama taught her how to please. Daddy begged them not to leave, but they drove to the city of angels, which is the city of Los Angeles. Mama knows baby girl gonna be famous. And that's, oh gosh, it's so, my bad. I keep forgetting my computer is such thing. Okay. Continuing with the first verse, he says, Mama died after fallen dreams. Suicide made her tabloid queen. She's alone. The city gonna break her. There's no one's there to save her. And then the chorus comes in. He watches over like a god, makes you hurt again so you can heal and say amen. We will change for you. We will cry for you. We will pay for you. Give our lives to you. So at some point, and this is kind of like telling a story, right, of how young people kind of get pulled into the industry. You have, in this scenario for the first verse, just to focus on that for a second, a young woman who takes her daughter out of her comfort zone to pursue a life of luxury and extravagance. And then the mom realizes it's too much pressure. She can't handle it, kills herself. And then that leaves the little girl vulnerable and alone, only to get picked up and swept away by the same industry that caused her mother's death in the first place. It's a broken cycle that is repeating itself over and over again. And that's accurate, devastating, but accurate. And I think it says a lot about the amount of sacrifice that people will go to be famous, to be relevant, to be seen and heard by a mass group of people, even if those people reject them at every waking turn. So that's Like a God. And that song is beautiful, but it's also very fucked up. And again, with that alternative sense of, I don't want to say foreboding, but presence in regards to what that looks like and how it works, that's that's what we have to work with. Now, the next song on my top 3 is called Lesser Man. And this is another song, again, it wasn't in the show. It was just for the soundtrack. And it's just The Weeknd by himself. This song makes me sad. It really does. A lot of his music makes me sad, but this song especially makes me sad. So the first verse is, what do you even know? I'm a deadbeat man, never know when to fold. Spend a lot for your soul. You gonna make that back, I'm gonna take what I owe. Far away from my home in this hot ass town, but my blood's still cold. And I better let them know when you see them that you make sure they pay you in cash. I don't do favors, I don't do that. You don't want to see me get mad, no matter how bad you think I am. And then the chorus comes in, I'm a lesser man than you think I am. You think you know, but you have no idea. I'm a lesser man. You're the best of them. Fuck the rest of them. I'm a lesser man than you know. And it's just like, so really quick, let's just dissect that. So who is he referring to when he says, I'm a lesser man? He's taking advantage of this young girl. I'm always assuming it's a young girl, right? He says in that first verse, ooh, my thumb was just in the camera. Ugh. What you don't even know, I'm a deadbeat man, never know when to fold. So I have a problem. I'm bad with money. I never know when to pull out. I never know when to say when. I never know when enough is enough or when too much is too much. Spent a lot for your soul. You're going to make that back. I'm going to take what I own. So I'm stringing you out. I'm pimping you out. I paid for you. You belong to me. This arrangement is not romantic in any way, shape, or form. You go out and do what I tell you to do. I take my cut and we all live comfortably. Very toxic, very dangerous, very high stakes situation. Far away from my home in this hot ass town, but my blood is still cold. Regardless of where I am, I'm always going to be seen as a snake. I'm always going to be, with the experience or, with that demeanor of a snake, a cold-blooded monster. That's how I always am. That's how I'm always going to be. When you see them, you make sure they pay you in cash. I don't do favors. Everything is all about business. Regardless of how you feel and what's going on, it's business. And it always has been and it always will be. That's the bottom line. That's all that there is to it. And the reason is because I'm a lesser man. Even how you think of me, how you see me, I'm worth less than that. I'm worth less than anything that you can concoct in your brain on how that works. It doesn't matter. And that's just all that there is to it. Now, the last song on my top 3 is called I Put Something in Your Drink. I put something in your drink. And let me tell you what, this right here, was my favorite song. Now, this was a song that was performed in front of the management team before Jocelyn was said to go on tour. So this was performed by a woman named Ramses. This was a member of the cult, right? And she actually went first, I think. I think she was one of the first ones to go. So they're like, hey, why don't you guys perform for the team while we wait for Jocelyn to get ready? And it was like, Ramses, woo! So she goes up, the music starts playing, and it's this freaky, heavy bass beat that's just pounding away. And then her voice is like really raspy and raggedy and like a frog. Oh my goodness gracious. She said, you walked in the room and made my eyes light up. What can I do to make your eyes wider? Something came down to me, said that boy belongs to me, told me to cast a spell and do it well. I said, God damn. I said, God damn. Okay, I'm tuned in. I'm listening, Ramses. What you got? And the whole song is about drugging somebody that you met at a bar. Like, you walk in, you see this good-looking guy in the corner of the room. Your first instinct is to walk up, sprinkle, sprinkle, here you go. And then the nigga and then she, at one point in the song, she goes, any second now, you're going to feel your face melt. And then it's like, what did you do to me? And then she's like, I put something in your drink. And it's just like, bro, what? Wild shit. But I absolutely loved it. It felt good. I loved the music. And it had just the right amount of spooky umph that got me intrigued. Like, I'm listening. You know what I'm saying? I'm leaned in. So those are my top 3 picks from the entirety of the soundtrack over the course of the entire season. Now, one more thing that I'm going to talk about, and then I'm going to be done. I know y'all probably tired of listening to me speak. This was the ultimate turning point between the first episode and the last episode. Not even the last, it's like the second to the last episode. The episode where she performs for her management team. Well, that might have all been the last episode. It's been a minute since I watched it, but I'm surprised my memory about it is still this good. So, like I said prior, in the beginning of the season, she's taking a photo shoot for a song that she just put out called World Class Sinner. This song was described by her as the most generic pop song that a freaky girl could put out at the time. It was very predictable. The lyrics were not creative enough. It was very bland, boring, simple, basic. It was like you're trying to be sexy instead of just being sexy. You're telling people what they want to hear rather than what you want to say. And one of the lines that Jocelyn herself specifically pointed out as being like frustratingly simple was, I'm a good girl gone bad, get in that car, drive fast. It was just basic bitch energy, and she really didn't like it. So she never liked the song to begin with. This is the song for the music video, for the photo shoot, for everything in the first 3 episodes was surrounding this song. So when Tedros comes in and she plays a revived version, that's the version of it that she's trying to change. It was that basic bitch ass version in the beginning. So she never really liked the song. She starts working with Tedros. She started working with Mike Dean. She started working with all the other people in this cult. Isaac, Ramses. She even starts working with Troye Sivan's character Xander a little bit more. She's opening up her sexuality into this peak position of seduction, temptation, and forbidden fruits. You know what I mean? So, excuse me. So, the final episode, she's performing for her constituents. She's trying to save her career. She performs the song Dollhouse. And let me tell you something about the song Dollhouse. If World Class Sinners was basic bitch energy, Dollhouse is like the amplified idea of what peak sexuality looks like in a confident artist. That song, and even the performance, she's crawling all over the floor and giving her management team lap dances. She's looking niggas in the face, and it's just like, whoa, cool it. Where did this come from? You know what I mean? It's a completely different version of the Jocelyn that they were so comfortable with. The same Jocelyn that took advantage of. The same Jocelyn that they, rode until the wheels fell off. The same Jocelyn who made them all this money 5 years ago when she was relevant, and then fell off, and no one in that room had confidence that she could do it again. So, oh my God, the song Dollhouse is a Temptations anthem. And my laptop just died, so I gotta just go off of memory. And thankfully, I've listened to the song enough to know the words pretty well. My favorite line, she says, keep me at the dollhouse, dressed up, perfect, messed up, torture me to sleep, take the air I breathe. Comparing that, torture me to sleep, take the air I breathe, to I'm a good girl gone bad. You know what I mean? Like, you can't even put those two in the same category. And as far as the perspective of Jocelyn goes, in the beginning of the season, she was doubting her own career and was crashing out because she didn't even want to do it anymore, because she wasn't doing what she wanted to do, which was making the music that she wanted to make. She was doing everything that her label wanted her to do, which is why World Class Sinners was trash, which is why they gave it to Diane and tried to get her to do it. And this is why Diane was so willing to be that puppet, the doll in question, ironically, and Jocelyn just didn't want to do it anymore. But then when you hear her perform Dollhouse and you hear her sing it, and it's so much more riveting, and it pulls out some type of demonic possession that lures into your soul. Like when niggas talk about a female being on demon time, that's what they're talking about, is a song like Dollhouse. And it drives this monster out of you that she did not have until the very last episode of the show. So you go back and watch it. I'm pretty sure it's still on HBO, despite the fact that it did so terribly, whatever. I'm pretty sure it's still available. But if you watch it from start to finish, World Class Sinners is a basic bitch sex song. And I know I keep saying that in a very, very harsh tone. I'm sorry. But it is. It's basic. It is basic as hell. Dollhouse is ultimate seduction. It is the sexiest thing that you can probably... And then this nigga The Weeknd, oh my God, he's a monster, first of all. And this is my favorite part of the whole song. Call me what you want. This is my favorite part. He provides very bare minimum vocals right at the very, very end. He comes in a cappella strong, singing, belting. He says, "You're no victim. You're not a victim." And then he get low. He get real low. His voice is like deep. And he says, I can't even. He says, "I love it when you call me daddy." And he kind of like, you know what I mean? I can't even describe what he's doing. And he says it again, "I love it when you call me daddy." And then Lily Rose Depp just comes in. Now, if Abel is right here, Lily Rose Depp is up here somewhere. And she's belting, she's moaning, she's singing, she's crying, it's passion, right? And she says, "Am I playing all right now, daddy? Am I playing all right?" I'm not going to do it because I'm not going to embarrass myself on the internet. But man, I'm going to listen to it right now. When I turn this off, I'm going to turn it on because I love that part of the song in particular. And it's like, you're in the dollhouse, right? I'm the doll. We're in the dollhouse. You can play with me however you want to. And it's such a sexy metaphor. It's such a sexy metaphor for like that type of relationship, which is kind of what they had going on for a minute. So for her to use that, and again, she's in control. She's the ringleader. She's the cult leader. She's the one calling all the shots. So to put herself in a position of submission is entirely based on what she wants to do. And he's just there. He's just fucking there. So it's chef's kiss. It's beautiful. I love it. I love it. And I hate... I'm pretty sure we're never going to get a second season of The Idol. And I hate... Because there were so many unanswered questions. There were so many things left, unfinished. And I'm not going to go into those too much because, again, it doesn't matter. But... man, oh man, was that show worth watching. And it's not even like it's like 8 episodes or something like that. It's not even a lot. And they're all an hour long, sure. I watched it over the span of 2-3 weeks. It's a shame. It's an absolute shame. But that is The Idol in a nutshell. And I have been waiting for no particular reason at all, to talk about it. It's been on my list of things to talk about because again, it came out in 2023. It's 2025 now. I had no reason to wait this long, but I'm just remembering how good it was, and so many people just don't like it because of the Weeknd's performance, and I completely understand why, because the nigga is hard to watch. It's uncomfortable, but that's my take on the whole thing. As always, I absolutely appreciate everybody who decided to stop by and listen. Hi. And Hi, Tasha. Okay. All right. I said hey when I first opened. I didn't say. Okay. All right. Well, until next time, I'll speak to you all later.